right, welcome to Awaken to the World live talks here with Toni-Lee. I am a personal mastery coach coming to you live from the country in central Alberta. And today we are going to be talking about radical gratitude and the whole idea around how radical gratitude can transform our relationships. The reason I wanted to talk about this today is because as a personal mastery coach, I believe and perceive that radical gratitude is a technique and a tool that, that I can apply in my life to achieve personal mastery. And I've got some amazing people here today that I'd like to introduce to you that are going to be here to discuss this concept of radical gratitude with me. So first and foremost, we have with us Izzy Emmanuel. He is with, his business is called Greatness Academy. Izzy, if you just want to wave your hand there.
Hey.
He's dialing in from the West Midlands of England. So he's from the United Kingdom. So he's got an accent. Hi, Izzy. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on, Toni-Lee.
Oh, I'm so excited today. So excited. It's going to be so much fun. And then I also have here as an amazing guest, we have Beth Gray with Beth Gray Coaching, and she's dialing in from Panama City. Hi, Beth. Oh, can't hear you, Beth.
That's Panama City, Panama, not Panama City, Florida.
Panama City, Panama. Thank you for that correction. And then we also have with us a second-time guest star appearance on our show here. We have Sandy Dragoi. He's dialing in from Bucharest, Romania, and his business is called Zignificent. So hi, Sandy. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Toni-Lee. Hey, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. So let's talk about radical gratitude. Now, I was inspired to bring forth this topic, quite honestly, mostly in part due to you, Izzy, and this incredible inspirational movement you have going on in my circle of friends. And I know anybody who's dialing in that is aware of Izzy is likely aware of the gratitude, radical gratitude challenge that he is putting up. So I just want to put it out there. Let's just define exactly what is radical gratitude. Why the word radical?
That's a very good question, Toni-Lee. But the thing is something that's radical is something that's out of the normal, what's out of the usual, out of the common. So when we're talking about radical gratitude, we're talking about stepping up and elevating to a level of gratitude that most people do not necessarily practice. A lot of people know about gratitude. It's a big movement. There's countless best-selling books, New York Times bestsellers, and a lot of research that's being done by leading universities. So it's quite a well-known topic, and the power and the benefits of gratitude. And a lot of people who do practice it keep things like, gratitude journals where you enter it maybe in the mornings or evenings. But with radical gratitude, for me, is going way beyond just journaling on gratitude. It becomes a life whereby 24/7, I live life out of a mindset of being thankful, appreciative of the entirety of my life experience. Hence radical, because it's gratitude at a whole different level, at an uncommon level that most people do not necessarily practice.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there is, I'm sorry, Toni-Lee, there is one thing knowing about gratitude and doing some gratitude in the morning and remembering it from time to time and living in a state of gratitude. It's probably what Izzy means by the word radical. At least this is how I take it.
Absolutely, Sandy, you're right. It's going to another level. It's a 24/7 mindset and practice, rather than I've got my 5 minutes in the morning where I write my journal and then I get on with my day until 24 hours later. It's like I carry the attitude of gratitude into every encounter of my day. Throughout my work experience, throughout every engagement, I show up with a heart that abounds and overflows with gratitude. Hence,
yeah, and I would add to that, that radical gratitude is that, we're all trained as kids to say thank you. Somebody gives you something, you say thank you. But the radicalness of it for me is that when that smile, that light goes all the way up to your eyes and you've actually lit up with gratitude and you really are thankful. You're not just going through the motions of I was taught to be polite, therefore I say thank you. But you notice that when somebody serves you, they're not just doing their job. You're truly grateful in that moment, and your thankfulness shows in the way that you treat that person. I think that would be the radicalness of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a bit of a keener myself, so I actually looked up the definition of those words radical and gratitude in the dictionary, because I really like to just wrap my head around specific definitions. And so according to dictionary.com, the definition of radical is thoroughgoing or extreme, especially as regards change from accepted or traditional forms. So that was the definition of the word radical. Now, I love the definition of gratitude, because this has for many years been my definition of gratitude as well. It's a good thing I agree with dictionary.com. But the definition of gratitude, according to dictionary.com, is gratitude is warmly or deeply appreciative of kindness or benefits received. Thankful, right? And so for me, the whole idea around gratitude is, receiving the gifts that this present moment has to offer. Right? When I'm practicing, like, gratitude isn't just a word I use. It's a what is that? What a verb? It's a something in action, right? Like I'm something I'm actually doing in this moment. I'm receiving the gifts that this moment has to offer, and that's gratitude. And to do that radically is to do it in a way that's, not a normal way of doing it. It's like, oh yeah, thanks for that. Thanks. Appreciate that. But to genuinely sit fully 100% present right here, right now, and opening up my mind and my eyes and my heart to receive the gifts that this present moment truly has to offer. So, Izzy, when I had talked to you about, when we discussed about doing a talk like this, a panel discussion about radical gratitude, you had said to me, Toni-Lee, I love this idea, but can we just take this one step further? I want to talk about specifically radical gratitude in relationships. And I thought, okay, that's cool. So I'm going to just put the question out there to the three of you guys, Beth, Sandy, and Izzy. So how specifically has radical gratitude impacted your relationships?
Yeah. Anybody?
Yeah.
Sure, I'll go first on that one.
Okay.
Okay, Beth.
Okay.
Awesome.
For me, one of the most amazing things that has happened as I stepped up and not just assumed that people know that I'm grateful, but actually made a point of saying thank you and telling them not just thank you, but what I'm grateful for, and being vocal about my appreciation. For example, my sister-in-law, my coach even, and saying to them, I really appreciate you. I appreciate our relationship, but this is what I really get the most out of. I've sat in tears with my sister-in-laws. We've said thank you to each other, because you wake up to, it's not just you're my sister-in-law. I really appreciate that of all the people, the 7 billion people in the world, it's you. And when you get to that level of being able to notice the little things and say it, it's like telling people you love them, don't take it for granted. And you get to that level of vulnerability, because it is vulnerability, you're open, you take that layer off. Then you transform a relationship.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I love that.
I first felt, for me, gratitude is a state of being I want to be in my entire life, from at least as I'm awake, even in my sleep, I want to be grateful for the fact that I'm having such a nice sleep and I'm waking up rested and fun. But the first time I really felt it, like physically, like in my guts, was when I met my first daughter 10 years ago, when she was born in the hospital, and the doctor put her in my arms, and I thought I was a bit of a macho kind of guy. I don't cry when I see babies and stuff like that. But I wept, and I was like, I couldn't believe what's going on. And I saw such a tiny little piece of a human being. And I remember she moved her hand a little bit, like some cats do sometimes. And I totally cried, and I felt really grateful, like for the first time in my life, in a completely new level and different. It was something I didn't even read about in the books I love so much, or the courses that I used to follow. It was just a feeling, like such a new feeling I wanted to have in all my relationships and in everything I was doing from that moment on. So that was for me the first time when I really felt different in a relationship with another human being, even though the human being was like a tiny little piece of something that I thought I couldn't really communicate with, but at a certain level, I'm sure we actually did. And I took that movement of the hand as a sign, like, boy, I'm taking you to a different level right now. and I felt really grateful for it. That's for me, like gratitude in relationships. And I didn't have an easy marriage and an easy life in a partnership with my wife, the mother of my children. We divorced 2 times, but gratitude brought us together.
Not once, but twice.
Twice. And because of gratitude, we're still together, and we're still together as in the whole family, like mother, father, 2 daughters, 2 cats, sharing the same house, having a wonderful time together. So again, gratitude is for me truly the miracle that allowed me to experience relationships that I thought they were never going to heal, or they will never be better, or life is not going to work, and all those crazy things that sometimes we feel. But then gratitude turned everything like in seconds, like overnight, just because of those feelings, just because of that state of being in gratitude. So that's my experience with it.
Yeah, it's very interesting what Sandy is saying, because for me, the way I look at gratitude and its power, if especially practiced radically. And I love what Sandy said, that gratitude is a way of being rather than an activity that I just do occasionally. It's who I am. I am a grateful person. Great gratitude becomes a part of, it's my essence, as it were. So, and my essence, who I am, you cannot switch it off and on, occasionally. Now I'm grateful, then I switch off until like 24 hours later on. It's who I am 24/7. That's how I show up. So when I'm showing up in relationships with radical gratitude, I'm bringing a person who is extremely appreciative of other people. And that doesn't necessarily mean, as well, as Sandy's saying, it's in context whereby everything is smooth and lovey-dovey. You can, and gratitude is possible to practice, and it's actually even more important to practice where the relationships are difficult. Because what gratitude does, when I'm practicing radical gratitude in a great relationship, it makes it even greater, because what I'm putting out there, it tends to come back. People respond to how we show up. And how we show up has got this extraordinary impact on other people. So if I'm coming with an extremely appreciative heart, so basically, in a way, like Sandy says, gratitude is an expression of love. It's being loving to that person, being valuing for them for who they are. And it's not an attempt for me to try them, rather to try and change them and make them something. It's an acceptance of the person as they are and loving them and being thankful for them as they really are at that moment. And in difficult relationships, gratitude comes in as well, because what it does, while it may not, sometimes it can heal the relationship and it brings reconciliation, like in the case of Sandy. Sometimes if that doesn't happen, if the other person doesn't change, what it does, it sets me free from the pain of the hurt. It sets me free, it heals me on the inside, so that even if the relationship stays broken, I still go free and I'm whole and I'm healthy. So that's the power of gratitude there.
Absolutely.
Well, and let's face it. So I'll just toss in my 2 cents on this whole, how gratitude affects my relationships. Like, let's face it, everybody loves to be appreciated. It feels good, right? When I know that somebody's really appreciative of my efforts, I feel seen, I feel heard, I feel loved, right? So in relationship, when when I take the time to see the person in front of me and receive the gift that they are and express that to them, it's transformative, right? So, I mean, I believe there's always an opportunity to receive the blessing of the person in front of me. And I mean, I've practiced this standing in line at the grocery store, really seeing the lady that's been standing on her feet for the last 7 hours for whatever reason, whatever's going on in her life. She's showing up at that grocery store to serve me. And when I look her in the eye and I say, thank you for working today. How are you? I really appreciate you're doing a really good job. Thank you for being in service to me today. And I can literally see the energy of that person light right up, their heart rate open. And you know what? They give me even better service.
Absolutely.
Right? It's like works. I needed to get air put in my tires last night. And I got to be honest, guys, I have so many talents and gifts, but putting air in the tires is not my thing. Right? So there's this young 20-something kid playing around with the air thing. And I said, it looks like you really know what you're doing. And I'd really appreciate your help. So the kid got in there and he was helping, and I'm like, I appreciate you. You are doing such a good job. How did you get to know how to do that? Can I buy you a Coca-Cola as my way of saying thank you? Right? So this, coming from the space of gratitude in relationships, when I'm open to receiving the blessings of the people in my life, they want to give more. We all love to be appreciated, right? So, this brings us to the next question is, so how specifically then can we actually practice this concept of radical gratitude in relationships? So it's one thing to go, okay, it's nice that, that it works, but how specifically, what are some specific ways? So I gave one example of being in the lineup at the grocery store. What are some other ways that you guys have?
Well, again, may I go first here with the question?
Go for it, Sandy. Go for it, man.
I had like 2 very distinct periods of my life. I felt very appreciated until I was 28, I guess, 27, 28. And then I met my wife, and for some reason, she didn't appreciate me. And her family also, they didn't appreciate me at all. And that went for about a decade. And it felt horrible by the end of the decade. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't feel good with myself. I didn't feel good being me anymore. And I couldn't understand it, because for the first 28 years in my life, and I was born in communism, by the way, so the first 13 were very different than the next years until 28. But I've always appreciated life. I had a great family, great parents, great brother, great friends. But marriage for me was a very funky stuff. I didn't understand why. And by the end of this crazy decade, when I really didn't feel good being myself, and I really wanted to check out because I didn't like life anymore, I decided, I kind of reminded myself that I used to be fun, that some people like me, that my kids like me, that my parents like me, that the friends I used to have all liked me. In school, I was liked. I love to sing all day. I love to dance all day. I love to read. I love being me. And I realized that I need to appreciate myself. I don't need other people to appreciate me. I don't give a, pardon my French, shit about other people's thoughts about what I do, who I am, how I am, and stuff like that. So reminding myself to practice gratitude and feeling good about myself from the little things like air in my lungs and water in my glass and the cold shower and the warm shower and the soap and the everything I have made life awesome and beautiful, and my relationships became like I used to have relationships when I was younger, and the dynamic between my wife and myself changed completely. And I decided I'm never gonna see my in-laws for the rest of my life, which I'm constantly practicing, and it's great. So this is how I practice gratitude. It feels amazing.
Okay, so then what I'm hearing, just in summary, Sandy, is, you know, starting with the practice of appreciating the gifts of yourself, right? So if gratitude is
I started to appreciate the fact that I'm alive, and I went from there. And when I said, wait a second, I'm alive, I'm breathing, I woke up this morning, there are so many things that I have, and people that I actually meet every day. It went like a roller coaster, like a upgoing spiral of happiness and of joy and of gratitude, living gratitude. I was not even thinking about the word. Right. I was just living it, which is where I am right now, and it feels awesome.
We see it emanating from you. How about you, Beth? What are some specific ways that you actually practice gratitude in your relationships?
Well, one of the things is, for example, before getting to the office, I'm very conscious before coming in my morning preparation of, you know, my mindset for the day, of who am I going to interact with, and what is that interaction going to look like when I come from gracious, from compassionate, from loving, from present self. So that when I get to the office, it doesn't matter what happened. My mindset is I'm noticing people. I'm not noticing the problems. I'm noticing the people. And I'm focused on, you know, being grateful for that person for showing up. If there's a problem, well, okay, let's have a look at the problem. But being really conscious of what is the relationship you have with this person and what do you want that to be. And so, you know, knowing that even service providers, that sort of thing, something went wrong with the internet as it is at the moment. Being grateful even for the person on the other end of the phone at the call center who's probably not even in my country, because they showed up to work today and they're taking care of my problem.
Yeah.
To the best of their ability.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, you know, and so it's just that consciousness of how do I want to show up in life. And that makes my life better. Like you said, Toni, it really does. It transforms my life because I showed up ready to appreciate the people.
Yeah, absolutely. And being mindful of the people that are there. Like, you know, I know for me, I can be so narrow-minded sometimes on my own stuff. It's like if I have a toothache, sometimes it's hard to, the only thing I can focus on is that sore tooth in my mouth, right? But through the practice of gratitude, it's that, okay, there's more going on in this moment than my toothache. So what can I see? What gifts can I see? And as I open my mind and my perspective to the gifts in the moment, all of a sudden, I'm not even really focusing on my toothache as much. Anyways, Izzy, how about you? Any thoughts on how you specifically practice?
Yeah, for me, thank you, Toni-Lee. For me, the starting point really is a fundamental recognition of the value in every human being. So there's not a single person that showed up on earth that has got no value, that has got nothing to offer. Each one of us, we've got an intrinsic value within ourselves. So gratitude for human beings and in relationships, for me, that's the starting point, that every single person that I'm going to encounter, whether it's in my personal relationship or whether I'm going about my business, my den, whatever, every single person that I encounter has got some value. They've got something that to offer. There's something they can add, not only to myself, but to others. And that starts, first of all, that recognition of the value in people starts with myself. Gratitude for other people is going to be very difficult if I can't value my own self, if I don't recognize the value in myself. Like Sandy was saying, that everything changed when he began to realize that in himself, he had the value. He was this person. He wasn't this person that had no value. There's a whole lot of people in the early part of his life that recognize the value within himself. But sometimes what we do, we lose that sense of my value. So there's a spiritual principle that says, love others as you love yourself. So before I can love others, I start by loving myself. Before I can appreciate deeply others and radically others, I have to start by recognizing that, hey, dude, you got value, baby. You got something to bring here. You showed up, you got something to give to the world, and get excited, love yourself, be thankful, and say, hey, I'm alive, and I got something to do. And when I start from that place, and when I wake up and I'm stepping out of my house in the morning with that mindset, that makes it easier for me to begin to see the value in other people. So that's, for me, the starting point of a practice of radical gratitude. Recognizing the value in myself and recognizing the value in others. And then when they show up, I make sure that I communicate that. I express my recognition of the value within themselves. Because one of the things that we do when it comes to appreciating people, we appreciate them, but they don't always know that we do appreciate them. Because we don't say, right? We just assume they know that I appreciate them. They know what they mean to me, but no, they don't know until you tell them. So for me, another real practical practice in terms of the practice of gratitude is always letting people know. And I always say, you can't just say, hey, I appreciate you. That's okay. But I like to be very specific. This is what I appreciate about you. You know, that particular thing you did, when you said this, when you did that. And I'm very laser focused in terms of highlighting the thing that I'm appreciative in that person's life. So these are really practical things to do as far as, from my point of view.
Woo, love it. I'm getting all squirmy because I'm like, I'm so on the same wavelength here. So specifically, I've got two things to add to this, right? So on top of loving self, on top of expressing gratitude, on top of, like, I love Beth's idea of driving into the office. Who am I going to be interacting with today? What gifts, what people do I get to interact with today? And how can I bring appreciation? I love that. So two things I want to add to the table here, guys, as ideas, and this is for real and legit, is I contemplate my death. And I have people who are in my life, they know, Toni-Lee, you sure think about your death a lot. Damn rights I do. I think about my death a lot. I'm like, and I don't mean to be morbid, man, but the reality is this is impermanent. This is impermanent. And so when I am aware and conscious and cognizant of the fact that this body of mine, it's got an expiration date. Right. So that means that, you know what, my husband and my kids do not walk out the door without a kiss goodbye, without I'm getting choked up, you guys, because they do not leave, and they know. And I get mad at my husband if he leaves without that kiss goodbye. Like, I will call him and I will be like, honey, you left without my goodbye kiss, because I do not want that to not be the last time I see him, because I don't take it for granted. Right. So contemplating my own death in terms of, the person that you're in relationship with, they have an expiration date. Right. So, we're doing these relationships anyways. How do I want to bring myself to them? So another thing that practically that I've done to apply gratitude in my relationships is I've actually thrown a gratitude party. And so what I mean by this, you guys, is it was my birthday. So my birthday is New Year's Eve, which is amazing. And it's
wow.
Oh yeah.
it's a really good time.
Awesome.
But what I did one year was I got myself one of those little hand recorders, right? And I went and interviewed strangers. What are you grateful for? And it was the most transformational. It was the best birthday of my life because I interviewed literally like 100 people. What are you grateful for? And as each person shared with me what they were grateful for, what do you think happened to me? Woo! My heart was
energizes.
Yeah.
And anybody who knows me, you know that I don't like I'm not partaking in substances, right? Like I'm a clean and sober kind of girl, but I'm telling you, I was buzzed. I was buzzed on that. So those are two specific things. So let's get real here, guys. So it's one thing to say, you know, I mean, I've been accused of having Care Bears and unicorns in my eyes. I can kind of go out and live in my pink bubble, right? I can, you know, so let's get real, because the reality is, you know, there's a lot of crappy things happening in the world right now too. A lot of really painful, sad, heartbreaking, you know, hurricanes happening. There's political distress. There's mass shootings. There's some really awful things. So, I mean, it's nice that we can sit around and kind of pat each other on the back and say, yeah, let's talk about the power of gratitude, but let's get real. So let's talk about, you know, what would you say to somebody who is currently right now experiencing tragedy, loss, grief, pain? Let's have a conversation about how specifically can gratitude help? Like, how can you feel gratitude in the midst of tragedy?
You know, I'll have a go at that one first. You know, for me, you know, this is the practice of gratitude is something that's real. And that's something that I've done in some of the most painful personal moments in my life, some of the lowest points that I've been. And what I found out when I do that, and even now, what happens is when something happens that's painful and hurtful, maybe it's a very, very painful setback, it doesn't matter what it is. And I've had a few in the past 4 or 5 months, you know, some major hurtful things happen. And people do things that really hurt you. But what I found out is, yes, I hurt, you know, and I'm done, and maybe I can get home and I just want to go to bed. I try and do that. I go to sleep. But when I wake up in the morning, for me, it's a new day. And the way I do it is I begin immediately, because with gratitude, the practice of gratitude is even in the midst of the greatest pain, it's possible to look and see something that's positive that I can be thankful for. And consciously and deliberately, even though it may not necessarily be easy, but doing that, pushing myself to look for the positive in that particular situation, in that difficult relationship, looking for something that I can be thankful for. For me, I find that it actually is what helps me to overcome the pain of the situation. It's the medicine that actually heals me. Like, you know, I'll give an illustration. And I've had an interaction with somebody for over 5 years. That's been an absolute pain in the, you know what, as far as I'm concerned. This person has been a thorn on my side for 5 years. And, you know, the first 2 years of that were really, really hard. I struggled, you know, I was always down, and it was messing up the entirety of my life. But when I switched and I realized that, you know what, instead of being mad or upset or annoyed and hurt by what this person did, I can begin to be thankful. You know, there's I approach life obviously from a bit of a psychological, positive psychology, spirituality kind of thing, because that's what we are, spiritual and psychological beings anyway. So, and one of the things that I know from spirituality, it seems very hard, but there's a spiritual principle that says, you know, pray for your enemies, do good to those who hate you, love your enemies. And it sounds really crazy, because this person is out to hurt you like crazy, and you're supposed to still respond in love, you know, still respond. So how do you do that? For me, what I did in this specific situation, I started to say, I am thankful for so-and-so, this particular, and I mentioned the name, I'm thankful for so-and-so, and I had to find what I can be thankful for from that person. I had to look for what I could be there. I said, you know what? I'm thankful that they are doing what they're doing. Reminds me of it helps me to appreciate all the people that are doing kind things to my life. They are an example to me of what I wouldn't want to be. And you know what? They are a warning to me of what I can be too. You know what? If I allow myself to respond with anger and hatred to that person, I become angry and hateful as well. So if I change it and I begin to be thankful for the person that they are providing me with some lessons in life. And you know what I did? I'll be like in the kitchen, maybe I'm cooking and the pain of the memory comes up. I said, you know what? I thank you for so and so. Thank you for so and so. Thank you for so and so. Thank you. And you know what? The pain that had weighed me down for 2 years, for the last 3 years, it took all the power that they had to control my emotional state. They lost it. Now, whatever the person does when they go crazy, I just say, thank you for so and so. And man, I'm joyful and I'm unmoved by what they do. I just don't care. And you know what? And this is not a light situation because it has to do with some serious things in my life. It has to do with my child. It has to do with all that. So this is a big issue for me. It's major, as Toni was saying. But I'm walking victoriously over what was a very, very hurtful situation because I found it in myself, even when they were hurting me, to say, I'm thankful for so and so. I'm thankful for so and so. And that healed me and that empowered me and that took away the power from them.
Yeah. You're getting a lot of love on Facebook right now, Izzy. There's lots of hearts going up. And Asanda says, yes, Izzy, oh my goodness, I love your story. Socratish Affinity says, gratitude places us in the moment. It brings us to the now, being aware of our mortality. So you're getting a lot of love in terms of your story. Asanda says, this is amazing. Oh yes, being joyful in the midst of it all, Izzy.
Thank you.
So like I said, you're getting Tina Penniger saying, yes, yes, yes. So you're getting lots of love. There's lots of hearts floating around for you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
lots
you
of love for Izzy.
Awesome.
So I'd love to hear from either Sandy or Beth. What are your thoughts about, what would you say to someone who has experienced tragedy, suffering, or a loss? Like, can gratitude really help? And what's your 2 thoughts on that, you guys? Beth, did you want to go?
Yeah, I had a miscarriage back in 2010. And I'd spent time and money getting pregnant. And obviously the initial reaction is one of complete pain. One, how could my body betray me? There's all sorts of thoughts for women, at least, about miscarriage. You screwed up. You didn't carry it right. But out of that, there was also, oh my God, I'm able to get pregnant.
Yes.
Okay. So while there's the pain, there's also the, okay, if I got pregnant once, I can get pregnant again. Because it was ectopic and they had to operate me, I was thankful for being alive. Because, that could have been, that could have been life-threatening.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the doctors were so good, they actually saved my fallopian tube. I don't know how they did it. But when 8 months later, a year later, I went back and I had other tests done, that fallopian tube was still connected to the ovary and working. And so, painful, heartbreaking. But can I see the parts that are beautiful, the parts that are good, the parts that give me hope? Yes, absolutely. And when you can focus on those things, on being thankful for what did come out right. I lost the baby, but there was so many other things that I did get as well. So and it does transform you. It transforms the whole way you see a situation.
Well, Beth, and I think like, thank you for sharing that. I mean, I felt that. And if I was there, I would just give you the biggest hug. That was very courageous and brave. Thank you for sharing that. You know, and so, Sandy, I know I want to hear from you too, but just really quickly, I just want to add, like, it's like the experience, like things happen in life, right? We have real life, legitimate tragedy, right? But what we choose to become as a result of that tragedy is up to us, right? So, you know, I can live in victimization, I can live in blame, I can live in this draining experience of what's happening, or with my free choice and my free will, I can choose to look at the parts that I actually have control over, and I can choose to generate from the experience. I can choose to rise above it. I can choose to let it be like the thing that pulls me down being like a slingshot, you know, that can propel me forward into this generating experience. And man, that just doesn't happen without a gratitude. And gratitude, remember, we've defined as being able to receive the blessings and the gifts in the present moment, even amongst the heartbreak. And I mean, I've got a bit of a story to share too, but first I'd love to hear from Sandy. You know, what are your thoughts about what we're talking about?
Well, just like Beth and Easy, I was a bit extremist, like until I reached that point when I thought, okay, that's enough. I cannot take it anymore. It's either I'm gone out of this world, don't want to be alive anymore, I don't care about this life, or do something, I don't know, God, soul, higher self, whatever, because I will not take a second out of this life living like this anymore. I don't want it for myself, first of all. I don't want it for my children. I don't want it for my parents. I don't want it for the people who like me. I don't want this anymore. I'm not going to go into the details of what happened to me, but it was too much and too long. So I thought, okay, that's it. I want to go. And as I planned to go, it didn't work out. So I kind of stayed. And because I stayed, the second I realized I'm still in this game of life and it's so nice, it's so fun, and I kind of like it. And again, just like I said before, instantly I reminded myself of the happy child I used to be. Happy-go-lucky, very connected with everything as I was a kid, and then later as a teenager. And then I don't know exactly what happened to me later, but then at 40, I went back to that kid who was so full of life and love and gratitude and appreciation and the whole goodies of life. So it kind of transformed me, that painful experience, because of too much pain that I took at a certain point until I could not take any longer. So I guess, you know, I went the whole 9 yards in pain, and then whoop, I realized I'm grateful it's over. So it was pretty automatic.
Well, and certainly, I mean, just listening to you say that it didn't work out, I mean, my first thought was hallelujah, right? Like, life just wouldn't be the same without Sandy.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I cannot imagine us without you, Sandy. I'm so thankful that the universe.
I cannot imagine life without myself.
You know, we are so thankful to have you, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Like, and you know, Sandy, you know, when I was a teenager, I mean, I was definitely there. I mean, at 18 years old, I found myself in a spot where it was bad, and I was contemplating ending it all as well. But, you know, specifically how, you know, gratitude has transformed some suffering and some heartache for me. 3 years ago, I was a marathon runner. I was very active. And within a month, my immune system started attacking my muscles, and I developed an autoimmune disease known as dermatomyositis. I had to practice saying that. I had to write it down and practice saying that. But it's called dermatomyositis. If you have 1 million people, 5 will get it. It's quite rare. But what happened is within a matter of weeks, my body shut down. I couldn't dress myself. I couldn't wash my hair. I couldn't get up and down the stairs. Like my body was literally shutting down at 39 years old. So was there an element of heartbreak? Yes. Did I have dreams about using my body and running? Yes. Did I cry? Yes. But what I promise you I did do is that I'm aware of the power of gratitude. I'm aware that I have a choice of how I want to respond to what's happening. And so even amongst crazy surgeries and chemotherapy and having to give myself weekly chemo and therapy needles and injections, the whole time I was so grateful that it wasn't my kid.
Yeah.
See, now my turn to get emotional. I was so grateful it wasn't my husband, because you know what? I know that I can handle it. I know I can handle it. I will, I know I can transform any tragedy, any suffering. I know I can, because I've seen the power of it. So I practice gratitude for the fact that it was me and not my kid. I practice gratitude for the fact that I could still see, that I was still here, and when my child, he was 7 at the time, he was crying. He was sitting on the stairs and he was crying, looking at a photo of him and I. And I'm like, sweetheart, like, why are you crying? And he's like, because I just want you around more, Mom. I don't want our time to be over. And like, I knew in my heart of hearts, like I was so grateful for this kid, because he gave me the oomph to do whatever it took to get better. And, I'm in a position where I was able to take time off work. Right. So, I mean, there are people out there who are very sick, who don't have resources. They have to go to work. So I had the ability to take time off, and my only job was to get better. I have the resources to eat incredibly clean, healthy, nutritious, rocket fuel, nutritional food. Right. So,
Okay.
So there's so many things that, I just kept practicing gratitude for the things that I have in my life. And you know what? It's been 3 years, and today I'm off every single solitary medication. I am in remission. I'm doing yoga. I mean, I'm still not up to running. I mean, in my mind, I'll get there. Maybe someday I'll get there. I'm still working on that. And, I'm grateful that I have the desire to do it. But, I'm out walking and I'm healthy. And you know what? I plan to be around for many, 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 many years. So, the thing about gratitude is like, we have a choice, right? We have a choice about how we choose to interpret what's happening. There was, I don't know if you guys are familiar with an author. Her name is Immaculée Ilibagiza.
Yes.
Yes.
I think I've seen a book. Yeah.
She wrote a book called Left to Tell: Surviving or Finding God Through the Rwandan Holocaust. And this is a woman who lived in a bathroom with 7 other women for 3 months while her entire family and friends were murdered. This was back in the 90s. And she wrote a book about how, for her, the journey was about discovering God amongst the Rwandan Holocaust. But her ability to practice gratitude for the things that she had, she's toured the world with Wayne Dyer telling her story. But, the whole idea, like, she actually looked the guy in the eye who murdered her brother. And she says, this kind of hate cannot be cured with more hate. Right? We need to transform this with love. We need to transform this with gratitude, right? So, I mean, the suffering and the things that are happening, yeah, they're awful, but, reacting and responding with more suffering and more why me? Why is this happening to me? That's not going to change it, right? So when we open up our hearts and receive the gifts, it gives us the power to act. It gives us the power to step into doing something greater and rising above the pain. Right? Those are my thoughts on that anyway. So we're just we're going to be wrapping up here. We are coming to a close. It's about that time. This has been really fun, but I want to just open it up to the three of you, and just if you have any final thoughts about radical gratitude.
You know, Toni, everybody, that all of us here, we've had real painful, tragic situations in our lives. And we're here talking about gratitude because it's something that we practice, something that we actually do. And because sometimes people can think these things are just, you know, intellectual, it's theory, it's just people just talking. But I mean, listening to a story, listening to Sandy, to Beth, myself, there's a real tragic, painful situations. And basically, as all we are saying here is, it's what you choose to focus on. You can focus on the pain and the pain will increase. Like you were saying earlier on, when you've got a toothache and you focus on that, everything else ceases to exist. Yet there is so much good, even though that tooth is aching, the rest of my body is functioning very well. And there's a lot of people and a lot of good things going on, but it's all about what we focus on in the midst of the situation. And I'm not saying it's easy. You know, and I'm not saying that, you know, I get it right all the time. Sometimes I have to give myself time to feel the pain. If something happens, yes, I'm disappointed, but it's how long do I stay focusing on the disappointment? So very quickly I switch and I say, you know what, that's happened. Okay, how do we move forward? What's the positive that we can focus on? Because you can never move forwards while you're holding on to the pain. You can never move into freedom while you're holding on to the hurt. You can never move into the liberty of life and the healing that is possible and available for all of us as long as I'm holding on to what's happened. So gratitude is about, you know what, still looking at the positive, because that's the only way I can move forward. That's the only way that I can heal. And that's forgiving another. It's another practice. You know, when I'm practicing gratitude for people, I bring forgiveness to them. I forgive whatever they do, because then I set free. When I forgive another, I am free and they are free. So what we focus on is all that matters. So it's possible to still look for the positive and to be thankful for the positive, even in the midst of great pain.
Absolutely. So Kradish Affinity has a comment here. She says, radical gratitude is firstly a choice that may become a way of life.
That's right.
I so much agree. Absolutely.
How about you, Sandy? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, just like Socratic Affinity just said earlier, it is a choice. I realize it's a choice, and I'm practicing this choice. It's like my deliberate choice for every moment while I'm awake. I don't take gratitude for granted. It's not just happening to me that I'm grateful. I realize that I'm grateful, and it's a state of being I want to perpetuate. I want to develop. I want to grow. I want to live in, and I want to spread it to my children and to all the people I'm interacting with, and to my cats, and to the plants, and to the sun, and to the clouds, and to my computers, and to my books, and to everything. So
Yes,
I'm very serious, very radical about gratitude.
Yes.
I am thankful for your seriously radicalness. You're, just so you know, when you're talking, you're getting a lot of hearts and a lot of love too. So.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Awesome. Beth, any final thoughts on gratitude? Oh, did she freeze?
She's frozen, yes.
Aw. It's a nice picture.
I want to say about Beth, I know she's practicing Ho'oponopono.
Yes.
And I find it, by the way, I find it an amazing process. I just want to give some kudos to Beth, because I think it's a very transformative process that she's doing.
Yes, I absolutely agree. Well, and I'm very grateful she froze in a way that's sort of nice. Like, you know, sometimes you can freeze and it's like,
yes. Yes. So, you know, that's something to be thankful for right there.
Yeah, let's all stay like this.
and just finally, Toni-Lee, just to mention as well, you know, Beth, for instance, she started she committed to the practice of daily focused, deliberate, intentional gratitude. She's been doing this since June. So she's been going non-stop. where she deliberately is fully switched on to be thankful. And you know what? Anybody can start. All you have to do is every day look for things. Like Sandy's saying, everything we take for granted is something we can be thankful for, because somebody doesn't have what you have. Somebody doesn't enjoy what you're enjoying. Somebody doesn't have access to what you're accessing. And you know what?
Yeah.
It could go on the next day. So there's a billion things every day to be thankful for. And so let's go do it. And wherever you are out there, you can start on your own to be more thankful for the people in your lives, their relationships. It may not be a perfect relationship, but hey, you can look and find something to be thankful in that relationship. And as you are thankful for the relationship, it will change you, it will change the relationship, and things will be better. Oh, she's back.
Hey, Beth.
Hey, sorry. Yeah, my internet decided to play up when it finally stopped raining.
We are very
so really
grateful
quick,
you're
guys,
back.
I'm just really aware of the time, so I just want to wrap this up. So Beth, any final thoughts on gratitude? I know Izzy had mentioned the ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono, yes, ho'oponopono. Yeah. Well, Ho'oponopono is actually about forgiveness and release. It's letting go of what you don't want to carry with you. And I know for me, the gratitude, and I was talking to Izzy about this. I had a relationship where the relationship or the friendship was just moving to a new level of basically being acquaintances as opposed to friends. But when I practice gratitude, I can walk away in love. I can be grateful for all the good things of that person. I can be grateful in my heart of I had all these years of having a fabulous relationship of friendship and everything, and say, okay, it's time to move on. But it's being grateful for what you've got while you've got it, and celebrating the good. And when it's no longer working, being mature enough just to say, okay, we've celebrated the good. Now it's time to go. But I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for each moment. So in the relationships, absolutely. But every relationship, the guy that delivers the gas, the guy that at the gas station, whatever, it is noticing people. It's being present.
Absolutely, Beth. So you guys, I just, my final thought on gratitude is, I know that there's a certain program out there that has 12 steps, and it's a really amazing design for living. And in one of those steps, they talk about changing. They talk about the process of changing, defects of character. And one of the defects of character is self-pity, right? And so, if you find yourself feeling sorry for yourself, or why me, or why is this happening, or, how come they get to drive that nice car and I don't get to drive a nice car, whatever it may be, right? And I mean, I don't mean to make light of it, because the reality is sometimes we really are dealing with some pretty big, bad, heavy stuff, right? But one of the spiritual solutions to self-pity is
gratitude. Absolutely.
Being here right now in this moment, fully present, fully plugged in, fully aware, and connected to the absolute blessings that are in my life. And gratitude is the action of receiving those blessings into my heart.
That's right.
So I see each and every single one of you as a blessing. I appreciate you being here today and talking. Now, before we sign off, really quick, I want to give a shout out to Izzy. I know that you have a radical gratitude challenge happening right now. It is not too late to get on board.
Not at all.
What is the group called, Izzy? It's Radical
Gratitude Community.
Radical Gratitude Community.
That's
so
correct.
Join the party. I know that right now there's a 21-day Radical Gratitude Challenge happening. It is changing lives. It is transforming. It is putting us in that space of heartfelt gratitude and appreciation. And, I know for myself, as I'm in that space, miracles are happening. People are, offering to put air in my tires. People are helping me out. It's a really cool experience. So, with that, thank you all. I just want to give a shout out to Dave Gieselman is watching. He's He's one of my buddies too. So we all know and love Days. He's given us lots of love. He says, did somebody say challenge? Yeah, Dave, get in on it, man.
Yes.
And
yes.
and we've got Socratish Affinity. She says empowerment comes out of gratitude. We had Tina Penneger. She was commenting quite a bit. She's given Sandy the heart and peace sign. So lots of love there for you guys. Susan Darling Spurrier is saying, yes, absolute miracles. So lots of love. You guys join in the gratitude challenge. Join me again next week on Awaken to the World Lives Talks, where I'm going to be discussing emotional freedom tapping. So if you've ever wondered what tapping is about.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
All right.